All right, what's up, Magi and Eaters? This is Stephen and Jake from Phantology covering Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie, the second book of the First Law trilogy. And Jake is our first time reader. I am a rereader, hoping to be ready for Wisdom of Crowds by September. So, Jake, I know, and listeners, if you tuned into our The Blade Itself review, just recap there. We were both liking it. Obviously, we're pretty big Abercrombie fans. Jake's already an Abercrombie fan, even though it's only his second book, or at least I hope he is. But the skinny there
I-
was that we liked the book, but thought there wasn't quite enough plot. That was the main criticism, although the characters and prose were obviously fantastic. And we'll talk more about that. So, with that long intro, Jake, how did Before They Are Hanged compare?
I think it's an improvement on every level. I think the plot, there's a ton more that happens, and I really enjoyed that. The
Okay.
characters are just as good, if not better, in this one. And I don't, yeah, I think all the weak parts of what was the first book called again?
The blade
Of
itself, the blade
of
itself.
the blade itself, all the weak parts of the blade itself have been overcome in this one for sure.
So we will get much more into all of those things. Before we get started, if you like Phantology, if you want to hear more, if you want to hear the blade itself review, or any of our other Abercrombie reviews, or things like Wheel of Time, Sanderson, et cetera, we've covered a lot of stuff. So you can find that at www.phantologybooks.com. Follow us on Twitter at phantology_books and talk with us on Discord. And recently we started a new thing where every podcast that we remember, every time we remember, we're going to shout out to another content creator. So the lucky, well, maybe unlucky, I don't know. But the content creator of this episode is going to be
Let's talk about Shauna Lawless, right?
okay, yeah, yeah. So you can find Shauna at Shauna L Writes on Twitter and follow her blog. She goes through what she's reading every week, along with some not too detailed reviews, so they're pretty digestible, and obviously no spoilers in the reviews. But she is quite a voracious reader and a fun follow. And she gets so she gets some arcs, and that it's nice to see what's kind of on the horizon. So if you're looking for a professional book blogger, check out Shauna.
Yeah, I think she's about to do an interview with Anthony Ryan for his next book that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So we were huge Bloodsong fans, so that's really cool. Check her out.
And she's an author herself and is in the process of getting published. So she's told us a lot about this on Discord. Another plug if you want to chat with some people in the community, hop on Discord, and there is a little community to kind of get you started on science fiction and fantasy. Okay, so back to Abercrombie. So a little intro to this book. Obviously, you're familiar with the blade itself. So we pick up from that action, and we go into Before They're Hanged. And the synopsis, which I think is worth reading here to just kind of catch you up with the general idea of what's going on. There's no spoilers here yet, but the back cover of the book says Superior Glockta has a problem. How do you defend a city surrounded by enemies and riddled with traitors when your allies can by no means be trusted and your predecessor vanished without a trace? It's enough to make a torturer want to run if he could even walk without a stick. Northmen have spilled over the border of England and are spreading fire and death across the frozen country. Crown Prince Ladislaw, what a guy, is posed to drive them
I
back and
know.
win undying glory. There is only one problem. He commands the worst armed, worst trained, worst led army in the world. And Bayaz, the first of the Magi, is leading a party of bold adventurers on a perilous mission through the ruins of the past. The most hated woman in the South, the most feared man in the North, and the most selfish boy in the Union make a strange alliance, but a deadly one. They might even stand a chance of saving mankind from the Eaters if they don't hate each other quite so much. If they didn't hate each other quite so much. Ancient secrets will be uncovered. Bloody battles will be won and lost. Bitter enemies, bitter enemies will be forgiven, but not before they are hanged. Dot dot dot. Okay, so does the book live up to this? Like, This is a good little primer, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it does. I love the bit about Crown Prince Ladislaw. I love how it says that they're the worst led army in the world, right after saying that he is leading them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a connection.
Yeah, he man, they did, or Abercrombie did such a good job of making Ladislaw be so entertaining to read when he's on the screen because of how ridiculous he is, like balancing that entertainment for like just the
Uh-huh.
humor and then also that frustration you feel for being like putting yourself in West's position.
Honestly, as I was reading through that, does Abercrombie write this? Like, is this something he wrote for this book? Because it sounds a lot like his writing style, where he just kind of he throws in like things like he commands the worst sled versus worst trained, worst sled army in the world. He uses a lot of the same words in repetition, and
Yeah.
it's just very digestible writing. I wonder if he wrote this.
Yeah, I don't know. Like would they, I mean he's a big enough author at this point, right? I feel like a publishing company would give him a lot of leeway. But
This was back in
from what
'07,
I've
so this is a few years ago. This book.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They'd be like, "Oh, we don't trust you. We'll market it how we want to market it." And I
He
don't know. But yeah, it
writes
does. It
like on
has a
his
very
blog. On his blog, he wrote a like a recap of previous books in the Age of Madness that I don't know how that's connected with the publishers at all, if he just did that for his fans, but I could see him doing it. I don't think it's too much to ask an author to write like 4 paragraphs about your book, right?
yeah. I mean, I'm sure if he submitted it and they're like, "Oh, this is good," then yeah. But it definitely has his feel to it of just the I don't know. His writing is so good. I'm a huge fan of the prose in this book and the first two books.
Definitely want to talk about that. Before we do, so I first read this book about a year ago. I looked at my Goodreads review. Every now and then I do write reviews on Goodreads, not super in depth, but I don't think I fully understood this book the first time I read it. And if you check out the BookTube video that we're gonna put up, that Phantology is gonna put up on our YouTube channel, plug for our YouTube channel, sub us on YouTube. Anyway, if you check out that video, I kind of talk about that more in depth. But I don't think I totally understood the book the first time. And honestly, I wasn't a huge fan of the series until Last Argument of Kings. I just don't think I understood the whole thing with the trope subversion, because in my review, I did give it 4 stars, which is, like good for Goodreads. But in my review, I said, I like it, but there's like no central conflict. I don't understand what the point of any of it was. That stands a little bit still after a reread. It's like still at this point of after 2 books, you're like, what are we really fighting against? What's going on? Like you get some hints, but it's so nebulous still. I don't know. Did you have any problem with that?
I, this is like my whole experience here is so different from your first time reading, probably because it's been hyped by you guys, and so like going into it, I'm like I have this mindset of this is a good series. Like I understand
Yeah,
this is a
yeah.
quality series to read. However, I, I'm kind of the opposite. After reading the first one, I was really like the blade itself. I was kind of in disbelief of why does everyone say this is such an amazing series. Well, I guess it was more just that book in general. I really like the characters, I like the writing, but nothing really happens in the blade itself.
Okay.
And so that was my main takeaway from that. Like if it hadn't been hyped, if it was just a book I came across, I'd be like, cool world building. I'm interested in that. Really like the characters. But nothing really happened. And so if the second book wasn't readily available to me, I don't know if like when I would have gotten to it, except for the fact that I had you guys to like really talk it up. So that being said, with Before They're Hanged, my experience was kind of the opposite. I liked it a ton because so much does happen in the plot. And yes, like you said, there's some subversions of tropes and things like that, which make it seem like some things were pointless, like the fact that um, at the very end of the book, they go to get the seed and there is no seed. Um, but to me, like that still, it still felt like they were doing something. Like I now have a clear goal, understanding of what their goal is. Like, okay, this is Baez's plan. I understand a little more of the political situation of what's the old is it the old empire or Gurkis? I don't.
Well, okay, so the
What's the
old
name?
empire is out west, right? That's the place where they're
Right.
journeying through.
But
Gurkel,
where
Gurkel
Glockta,
is down
Gurkel,
south.
Gurkel, Gurkis. Yeah.
Glokta is
So
in neither. Glokta is in Dagaska, which is
well,
right
which
at
is
the
being attacked by.
yeah. So it's like right across the sea. There's actually not. So this is a reasonable question because there isn't a map that was released along with the books. There are maps now,
Mhm.
but they're not like the most professionally done maps. Like they're
Yeah,
not the
they're more
maps you
like
would
a
see in
sketch.
yeah. So you've probably seen them, but it's not
Yeah.
super detailed. Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is I can sense like there's some political intrigue there with Gurkel, not Gurkis, sorry. With the Empire. I don't know, like something's going on there, and like you get a hint of that with Glockta's storyline. Also with Glockta's, you get a hint of the just intrigue in the Empire in general. So, I mean, in the Union in general. And then I don't know, I feel like there's so much more going on in this book that I'm like really excited for where things are going to go in the future. Whereas in the first book, I was like, these are good hints, but I don't really like nothing really like happened to let me know what's the point of the series. Whereas this book,
Okay.
I feel like that's a little more clearly defined. And so I really liked it. I remember hearing you guys really love the blade itself, and then we're kind of more
Did we
lukewarm on before they're hanged.
really? Okay. I don't remember that, but
Well, okay, I take it back. I don't know if you were specifically about the blade itself, but you were in general about this trilogy. But I do remember people saying before they're hanged was not that good, and so for me it
hmm.
was weird to think like, oh, I like this like way more than the entry level. But
Okay. Yeah, honestly, I don't remember if I ever
yeah,
solidified opinions. I just remember it took me until the last argument of Kings, whereas like this series is awesome, and I'm going to read everything Abercrombie writes. So book
which
three
has me
for me.
really excited. Yeah, and that has me really excited to keep going. So
Yeah, you should be. It continues to get better. So okay, so it sounds like through two books, the seed has been planted for you at least, although not for the characters. But for you, the seed was planted where you are now.
yeah,
You feel like the conflict has been defined enough where you like okay, Gurkle's down south. They've got some things going on there. Not sure exactly what, but they're now coming against the Union and Bethod and his
Baez's
guys up north. We haven't
plans.
even
Yeah,
talked about.
yeah,
Yeah, Baez has got something going on. So a lot of mysteries that you're hoping will be solved in book three then.
yeah. At this point, I don't really know how Bethod plays into it. Um, I don't know if he's just like a chaos factor or like he has that sorceress or some magic user
Uh-huh.
on his side. And so I wonder if it's all like if it's all connected to Gurkel, like the assassinations and Bethod's uprising and everything. Um, and I guess by extension, it would be um, man, I don't remember so many of the names of the other magi, but the main magi who's alive now, who's an eater.
You're so
He's from
yeah.
Gurkel, right? Oh yeah, Kalul.
Oh
And
yeah,
so
uh-huh. Hmm.
so I'm wondering if maybe he like maybe he's the main force behind everything to get back at Baez. I don't know. I can see a lot of connections going on there, but I'm not sure
Okay. So
how they're
let's
all lay
follow
out.
that. So one thing about this book, we get a lot of lore backstory. There's several
Mhm.
different chapters where it's like, okay, Baez is going to sit down, or there's one where Quiet tells the story. There may be some other ways. I can't remember exactly how the lore gets into it, but we get slowly kind of things like doled out to us. Did you? So another thing that I struggled with, that I actually still struggled with, I understand the general ideas, and if you read closely and look through the details, like you could sketch out exactly what happened with all of these magi back in the day. But I don't like talking to you now. I can't remember off the top of my head in the same way that I could for like the lore backstory of the Cosmere, for example. I just feel like that's
Yeah.
more clear. It's like maybe it's just pounded into you more throughout the course of the books. And this, you only get the story one time. So I just wish there was like more definition around that, or we met some of the more of the characters. It's a little
Yeah,
nebulous still.
my biggest confusion is who is actually still alive out of all these
Mm,
characters of legend, because no one thought Baez was still alive. Where
yeah,
so if people were disbelieving in Baez returning, that means probably his companions from his same time are not super out in the open if they are still around. But the fact that Baez is still around makes me think that most of them are.
there's
I
still
think
there's still a few magi
Juven's,
around.
yeah, and we meet some
Yeah,
through
like
the book.
Zacharias. Zacharias shows up.
Yeah,
Obviously, Kalul is like you say
Kalul.
the one we're fighting
And then
against.
who was Kalul's master? Juven's brother, I think. I don't I don't remember.
Gustrad, the demon
Gustrad.
brother. Yes, there were like the
Yeah,
four
yeah,
sons of Euz, right? And each one was given a
yeah.
gift. And Gustrad, if that's his name, something like that. He didn't get a gift, so he got mad. So he decided to speak with demons instead and break the second law, etc. I mean, let's not try to recount the details because we're gonna get them wrong.
Yeah, but I did like the lore of like Baez was training under Juvens, I guess, and then he got I could be getting this all wrong, but he got upset and then he went to train with the Maker, who I don't remember his actual name. And then he
Mm-hmm.
fell in love with the Maker's daughter. I thought this was kind of a cool little romance that turns into a battle. And I don't know, I liked seeing all that background and feeling more of that. And so that's got
Yeah,
me excited for who of those players are still around.
yeah,
And then also the
and
I like
that stuff is important. Like, it's not just gonna fade into the background. It is gonna be important for
yeah,
future, especially the next book.
and I liked how we get to talk to people who know Baez more personally. There was the was it a was the woman a magi as well as Zacharias or
I
whatever.
can't remember the
I
one
think
at the West Library. You mean
I don't remember when. I remember one guy was like,
right at the end?
"Man, you're still going about like trying to fight Kalul, blah blah blah." And then I think there's a woman who said, who mentioned specifically about the basically his lover he had when he was studying under the Maker, but then she died.
Yeah, so
That one was
That
right
was
at the end, I
Ptolemy.
think.
That was Ptolemy, the maker's daughter. That woman was Kaniel. I do have that in my notes.
Yeah,
I don't remember if she's actually a magi or if she's just like
yeah.
adjacent
She,
to
but
the magi. Yeah.
she's a character that knows Baez at a more personal level, whereas everyone else that we've met
Right.
so far has known him as master or as this character of legend only. So it was really cool to see more of that, to kind of see the cracks in Baez's. It's not really, I don't know if it's a facade he puts off, but it's a facade that is kind of put around him as
Oh yeah.
a reader of fantasy going in like, oh, here's the wise wizard. And then I mean, at the end of the blade itself, for sure, you're like, wait, he just turned everyone into pink mist. And now you get to meet characters who are more like chipping away at that
Yeah.
persona that we've like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just inherently put upon him, I guess.
Yeah, and things like, you don't really expect to see the wise wizard start cussing everyone out and becoming super upset when his
Mhm.
plans are ruined at the end of the book. Um, Baez, Baez is, yeah, he is a mystery at this point. So I guess what are your general impressions of him? Like, what is he trying to do? How does he align with other things that are going on? Like, what level of player is he?
Right. From what I'm getting so far, and I think this is probably true of most of the characters, they all kind of see themselves as what they're doing is the right thing to do. So I think he really sees his quest as necessary for the probably for the betterment of everyone. But I I definitely get the feeling that he's more short sighted than he leads on to be in terms of like collateral damage or fallout of what his actions may cause. And it seems like he's more motivated by um, maybe a vendetta. Maybe he has a vendetta against Khalul. Not really
Oh,
sure
he
exactly.
certainly does. Yes.
He does. Okay.
Yes.
But like there's a contention there for sure, but I'm not really sure what the details of that are. But yeah, so
Basically,
what
so
less
if
wise was
a couple details there, and I might be getting these wrong, but the the gist of it is when everything went down with the maker and he had to run off and try to get protection. However that went down. I think that's what happened. He wanted Khalul to help him. Khalul was like, I'm not sure if you're telling the truth here. And so he did not join up with Baez. And since there's been a big split. And I don't know
yeah.
exactly. I mean, I might have got a little bit of that wrong, but then Khalil went down, he got buddy with the Gurkrish and the Eaters, etc. So maybe I shouldn't even try to give you more details because obviously I don't know
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
And kind of going back
I'm
to like the whole thing, we just don't know enough about the backstory, and it's still a little nebulous. Like that's not the point of the story. It's not supposed to be this big
right.
lore, expansive backstory. It's just kind of like enough to get you jump started.
Yeah. But yeah, like you're saying, I like Baez, I think is instead of the wise wizard, he's actually more of the like he's a man with a plan and he's willing to take anyone out who's in his way and to get his plan done. And I think he's enlisted some people who are also I don't know, kind of have that same mindset where like Logan is definitely down to do things that are dirty. Um, like he's less morally conflicted about getting things done as long as the end result is something that should be good in his mind. And
Okay.
Pharaoh just wants vengeance. So I mean, I don't know. He's picked these like dangerous tools with them. I'm really interested to see what he wants to do with Giselle more than anything. But
Okay, yeah, let's talk through some other characters there. Okay, so Logan. So if you've followed Phantology on Twitter at all, you know that I'm not a huge Logan fan
yeah,
for
yeah, I
reasons we
don't get
can't,
it.
yeah, for reasons we can't go into.
I mean,
But I did
but
say
I
on my reread of the series, I was going to be open minded and see if I could revise my opinion of Logan at all. And honestly, like through this book, through Before They're Hanged, there's a lot of reasons to like Logan. Just like in general, his attempts
yeah,
to be a leader and plant camaraderie within the team. He seems like he's got this troubled past, but he's like, I want to try to help these people out. So, and Jake, you're gonna say you like him.
yeah, I do. And I really liked his kind of mentorship with Giselle. And I like how where that goes. I liked his relationship with Pharaoh as well. Um, I don't right now like I get he's not a like quote unquote good person in this like he's done terrible things and but he seems to be the type of person who's admitted he's done terrible things. So and he's trying to do good now and I find that an interesting character and I feel like there are other characters in fantasy with similar backstories um in Stormlight and Wheel of Time
Mm-hmm.
and definitely A Song of Ice and Fire that everyone loves. And so I'm not getting why people are hating Logan yet.
A lot of people really love him, and I mean, I can't give you details, obviously, but
Yeah,
there's
right.
reasons. There's reasons. So I think you'll see
Do you
more.
think, knowing where I'm at now with Logan and like the reasons why like I like him and the reasons you don't like him
Uh
and like
huh.
knowing me, basically like what's your prediction? Am I going to end up at the end of this trilogy? Am I going to end up still really liking him or am I going to hate him like you?
I believe you will. I believe you will find reasons to continue liking him because that's more your personality.
Okay. Huh, interesting. So I'll be trying to convince myself that he's still a good person.
Yeah, you're much more. You're um you have too much hope to be part of the Joe Abercrombie First Law universe. I can be too harsh with people. Maybe
I
maybe
mean,
I
I don't
would fit
know.
in as a character too easily into an Abercrombie book.
I obviously don't have all the information, but I just, like I said, I just feel like there are lots of characters who have done terrible things while trying to do good things, and they're still like liked characters. So I'm really interested to see what is revealed or what happens to possibly change my mind on this.
Okay, so Logan Molmans in this book,
Mm-hmm.
he takes over leadership once Baez goes down. After
Mm-hmm.
trying to help out everyone, Giselle kind of starts to take a liking to him a little bit. I thought there was one funny moment, like the rain chapter where Giselle was moaning around because it was raining, and he sees Logan, and he's like, the great savage took off his coat, and he's just like loving it and rolling around in the mud like a hog. And then time passes, and Giselle's like, "Wait, my clothes are really wet and it's cold." And look over at
Yeah,
Logan, and he's like fine because he took off his, so things like that. I mean, maybe that's kind of a Giselle character thing as well. But
yeah,
it's those
that's kind
small
of like,
moments, those small character building moments that Abercrombie does so well.
yeah, yeah, that's kind of like turning point in Giselle's character in this book, to where he starts to realize, oh, maybe this guy has something to offer after all, and I should be taking a listen to him. I love Giselle's character growth in this book so much. I thought it was very realistically done, and it. I don't know. I just really liked how, like, he kind of has this reassessment of what's important in his life,
Mm-hmm.
and recognizing all these stupid things he's done and making these resolutions to change. And it wasn't like this, oh no, my life's in danger, so I need to make, like, if I survive this, I'm going to make these changes in a like disingenuous way. It seemed pretty heartfelt.
Okay, so that's the question I had for you. Did you think there was enough character growth throughout the book? It sounds like you're thinking yes, there was quite a bit. I will say with Giselle, so the biggest turning point, there were a
Yeah,
series of turning points, but then the biggest one was obviously when he got his naming wound, right? And then has to goes through this period of convalescence and recovers a bit, and then is like, hey, Logan's actually pretty smart. I like him, and I'm gonna, go off and marry Audie, and I'm gonna change my life. And I was terrible. And then by the end, he's kind of like, do you believe that he's changed? Because he's starting to moan again. He's like, wait, we came out all this way for nothing, and I got my face split open, and I'm, he doesn't like, is this gonna stick? Is I guess what I'm wondering.
yeah, yeah. I had that same question, and I think I'm generally not a fan of characters going through growth and then somehow, like, regressing in character just because it serves the plot more than it serves the character. But
Okay.
I think this, like, for an example, although I just rewatched it, I don't think it's as bad anymore. But the difference, like, in Iron Man 1, he has this huge character growth, and then in Iron Man 2, he's kind of back to the original Tony
He's just
Stark,
back. Yeah, he's the annoying playboy again.
which is annoying to me because I'm like, well, what was the point of the whole first movie? And I mean, now that watching it over and over, I'm like, okay, well, he thinks he's dying, et cetera, blah, blah. But that kind of thing without justification annoys me. But I think it with
Mhm.
Giselle, it was really cool to end it where he doesn't start to moan a ton again. You only get to hear him really, like, complain one more time, but it does leave it with this, because, like, their whole journey was basically for nothing. It leaves it with this, wait, was, since the whole purpose of their journey turned out to be like for nothing, is all the character growth for nothing as well, which is kind of like this meta subversion thing going on that, like, I really like. As much as I don't want his character to regress, I think it would work in this context if it does. um
And
and
wouldn't
like,
that be like, if it does, wouldn't that be pretty human?
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing, people grow, but the way people grow and change is like bit by bit, and it's never like this wholesale change right away. It's like, okay, I've made this change, but I still have these like residue of my old personality I'm trying to eliminate. So, and
Yeah.
especially something like that, that was a big thing to like, it was a big upset. Like it was valid, like for him to complain about it. But I'm hoping he doesn't just go exactly back to how he was before. If he does start to regress towards more of his self-centeredness, I'm hoping he becomes even more jaded, like, because it can't just be like a switch and then all the way back. Like it has to be different a little bit. But I'm really hoping he does actually turn out to like be what he appeared to be, this like Prince Charming character in the first book.
So they're headed back. His plans are he's gonna marry Audie and kind of go off into the sunset and not worry about, in the first book he was so worried about their class difference, how's it gonna work? Oh,
Yeah.
maybe she could be my mistress or something. Like I love her, but now he's just like, I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want to be with her. So what do you see for that? What do you think?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. A lot of his character growth was due to him kind of recognizing what is important and isn't. And so just because the journey, he wasn't really invested in the journey anyways, like Bias is
Oh,
like, we have
he
to get the
cared
seed.
zero
Like,
for it.
well, yeah, and even when he like had his character growth moment, it's not like he realized this seed is so important. That's why we're here. So there not being a seed, I think, shouldn't really affect his like the changes he and growth he's had. So I'm hoping he does, like at the end of this, he still, like in the beginning, I guess, of the book 3, I'm hoping he still does have that plan to just return home, get to Artie, and live the, I guess he would be like the homesteader or something. That was his plan, right? Just him and Artie.
Yeah, that's the
I'm
plan.
hoping that's what he wants. That's right now, that's what I see his character wanting in book 3, at least in the beginning. But
Good
I
luck to
guess
him.
you're making me really doubt that. Okay, I don't think he will achieve that goal, but you're making me doubt that he still wants that goal. I'm hoping he does. But
I don't want to try. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to try to plant seeds in your. I guess I'm
no,
just trying to like throw the general
yeah,
like jaded attitude at. I mean, that's no secret, right? Like the it's a
yeah,
grimdark series, and really the way that I define it is there's just like not a lot of hope in the books. There's not a lot of hope for good things to happen in general. So I'm trying to throw that out there. That doesn't mean that nothing good is going to happen because it's not like all in all, it's not that dark of a series,
yeah.
but
It doesn't
generally
feel.
things don't happen in the way that you think they will, at least.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as dark as like Game of Thrones, where you're totally like all your favorite characters die all the time, anything like that. But I do see what seems to be like the plan, like not coming to fruition. So, like in that regard, speaking of Jazal, I'm thinking he's going to come home and want that to happen. But, and this is kind of jumping to Glokta, but I'm thinking Artie and Glokta are going to. I, I don't know, because maybe this is too hopeful, but it'd be cool if they had some sort of romance. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think they're definitely going to start some sort of think tank slash
Mm.
like
So you're just kind
coalition.
of you're building off of their interactions there at the end of the
Yeah,
book.
yeah, and I kind of talked about this in book 1 just because they have a brief interaction, and they mention
Mhm.
how like similar they are in their, I guess, in their cunning, and we see more of that in this book, and I think it would be really cool to see where that would go, like them somehow getting into the politics or just the investigation of different plots and stuff. And I could see that as being a really good kind of foil and or like just conflict for Jazal coming home and seeing the woman he loved now being with Glokta, someone who he like detests and sees as just like
Yeah.
inhuman almost. So,
Mm. Okay.
but
That
this is
that would be
all this
interesting.
is all banking on him still wanting that and him making it home at any point, which who knows? Like, I don't know if that's even happening.
So Glokta, let's go on to Glokta. Speaking of a dark character, is very interesting. So starting in Dagaska, I thought him taking over and quickly showing that he is the most capable person in the entire city was nice. You know, he's able to hold out for much longer with the critical help of the random million mark Deus Ex Machina
Yeah.
that just shows up from Valentin Bulk. Without that, you know, it definitely would not have gone this well. So, what do you think of that? And I mean, maybe also like, what do you think of this whole Dagasta crew and his efforts there?
I thought it was really fun. I loved the chapter intros that had letters
Oh,
from
letters
and
that
to
he's
the
writing
superior.
to Salt, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really fun. And again, the narrator is just so amazing when he does his salt voice. It's
Uh
Superior Glockner. No, 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 no.
huh.
That's so good. Um,
Stephen Pacey, the goat.
yeah. And I also liked how you like it set up like, okay, this city is probably going to come under siege and he's trying to find this plot. And so it seems like this whole book is going to be him preparing the city for a siege, the siege happening, and like this Helm's Deep style battle, and him like figuring out like I don't know like all this focus on uncovering this plot and defending the city, and that stuff happens, but it's just not really like the focus point. I guess the plot is uncovering the plot is, but like all the battle preparations and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the biggest plot point was how are we going to get the money for this? And then like the next chapter he's in, the battle has started, and then the next chapter he's in, like they're halfway through the siege, and then it's okay,
Yeah,
just leave the city. We're done with you there. And I thought that was a really fun way to experience it.
it goes very quickly for, you know, the fun
Yeah.
that Abercrombie does with action. He doesn't really show it here. It's more just like glocked up on the walls, like, oh crap, we got to get out of here type of action. I mean, you hear
Yeah.
from Casca a little bit about, you know, his crew. Okay, you know, here we go off to fight. There's the Gurkish are, there's a lot more of them and they are better armed and it's not going to go well. So there was that. You mentioned Helm's Deep, and I wanted to bring this up because I feel like each of the three plot lines kind of has some Lord of the Rings tropes, but then taken in entirely different ways. Like for
Yeah.
Dagaska, unlike Helm's Deep, there was no savior riding in at the end. The whole city was just, I mean, they were basically
Taken.
killed and overrun. And that did not go well. The quest off to
Yeah.
find the seed slash the ring was nothing. The entire thing was pointless. And I don't know if there was as direct of a comparison with West. From my brief thing, there might be a better one than this, but like a little bit of Aragorn maybe after he,
Yeah.
you know, goes off and he's presumed to be dead off, you know, when the Warg Riders come. Actually, I can't even remember if this is in the book or not. It might not be, but at least in the movie, you know, when he comes back to Helm's Deep at the
Yeah.
very end, I don't know. There's probably a better one, but Abercrombie is obviously, I mean, like every fantasy writer is a big Tolkien fan. So I thought he does a lot of really good things, setting up similar types of tropes, but then changing.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I guess like with West, it's kind of like I mean, what do they call the flatheads? Um,
The Shenka.
what do they call Shenka? They're kind of like orcs, right? So
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I can see some fellowship into Fellowship of the Ring vibes there.
Okay.
Um,
I mean,
but yeah, yeah, I just
they're orcs down to when Logan and Pharaoh like find him, you know, breeding down in the dark pits of Alcus. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, I really liked the that whole plot and the Dagaska with Glokta. Um, and then I liked when he came back and we're expecting this like I was expecting he's going to get a huge promotion. They're going to love him because he's scared that they're going to kill him. And instead, it wasn't either. It was just basically like you got this promotion, but you're co-manager, and um, I don't know, like, and like it was he got a promotion as a co-manager, and there was no real recognition given to what he did. And the city was just like, oh, we were like fine getting rid of that city anyways. Like we don't care.
Yeah, so Solt
Um,
cares zero about anything other than the Inquisition's political status.
yeah, and I really like the conflicting the conflicting conflicts that Glokta had in this book. For example, with the Merchants Guild leader and
Carlet, Dan Idar,
yeah, and
the pretty
how
one.
yeah, like she set up the whole plot right to give away the city
Her and
and
Verms, the son of
the
the
son of the
governor
mayor
guy.
or
Yeah.
governor. Um, but he lets her go because he realizes she's like her intentions were so good and she's 100% right.
Yeah. So why
Um,
is that all? Because I think there's some other reasons why he lets her go
I
too.
think I think her being a woman for sure is part of it.
And you see the
I
same
don't.
thing with Vitari, where he grants some mercy to her,
Yeah,
agreeing to take
yeah,
her with them.
and I don't know how much of that. I didn't really see that as due to her gender as much as him realizing, oh, she isn't going to just stab me in the back because he would never really trusted her before. But that was kind of a moment where she
Mm.
opened herself up. But maybe, yeah, maybe it's hard to tell what his real weakness is there.
Also with
Um,
Carlet, I think, and maybe you were going to bring this up, but so when he first meets with her, she doesn't like treat him any differently or like
yeah,
make any comment at all on his disabilities, and he's just like, okay, I'm kind of dealing with someone on the same level playing field here, and she recognizes, my shrewd mind and the things that I rely on, and I think he really respected her a lot and was like, you lost this round because I had the resources from Valiant and Bulk, and like I didn't even deserve
yeah,
those, so you should have
yeah,
won. Therefore, you're a worthy adversary. Let's play another round, maybe, or let's at least you're yeah. I'm not just gonna kill you because you're not just some worm that I would torture as usual.
yeah. I didn't really recognize the comparison there between those two characters, where she's in her position because people were able to recognize her worth outside of her like physical presence, you know, in a more sexist world. They recognized that even though
Mm-hmm.
only men really have leadership roles in that society, that like she's worthy to do this. And similarly, she recognizes that in him. Like despite his disabilities, she's
Mm-hmm.
able to see that those aren't what make him really good at what he does.
And she asks
So
him
that,
like very directly. She's like, I find it very curious that you were tortured so horribly, yet now you are the
yeah,
torturer. And he doesn't know the answer to this question, basically. Like, Glokta cannot sit with himself long enough to answer this question because it's such a painful thing for him to think about because he he doesn't like torturing necessarily, but he's got like no other options. And if he were to sit and consider this, he would just have to like stew on how terrible his life is. So, but at the same time, the fact that she is just, hey, I don't care about what's going on with you here, but I'm interested in this question. Like, I'm interested in you, and I think you're an interesting person, other than the fact that you're so crippled. I don't know if I'm really getting to my point here, but she sees him as a worthy adversary and she's interested in things that he doesn't like. Normally people would not ask him these questions because they would be so concerned about what he might do or injuring his feelings or something, but she's just very direct with him.
yeah. And now I'm wondering, maybe it isn't a gender thing with her either. Like maybe it just so happens that the only characters who have really taken the time to get to treat him as an equal and look at him for what he's worth have been females. Like I'm thinking her and Artie in particular. Um,
And I guess
but
West, like he really loves West because in the Blade itself, that moment where he realizes that he did come back, or he learns that he did
yeah,
come back to see him, but his mother turned him away. The other people in
yeah,
his life, like his practicals, they don't care about him as a person. They're just
yeah,
like, they're our
yeah.
buddies, and Frost and Severard are, they do enjoy torturing people.
Mhm.
Solt
Yeah,
doesn't care for him. He's just a tool in his mind.
yeah. I don't think. Yeah, Salt. I don't even think is. aware of other people as people.
No.
Like it seems like he only sees everyone
Oh
as
no. Yeah.
just a tool or yeah, information. I liked how in the later half of the book we have again another like major conflict for Glokta in torturing the he wasn't like an ambassador, but he was
Which,
from
well,
Gurkel.
there were two different ambassador types that show up. The one that he kills in Dagaska, or the one that gets killed back in Adua later on.
In Adua, the one who is blamed for the assassination of the crown prince.
Yeah. Wait, is it?
And how
Dang, now the name of the city is Adua, right? We got that confused last time.
I kept calling it Ardua because of Artie, probably. I think it's Adua. I liked how Glokta realizes there's so much more to this plot than just, oh, it must be the guy from Gurkel who did it, because it that guy could have done it. I can't remember if he could have done it earlier or easier than the method that was used, but just also how it just is lining up too perfect for this to be Gurkel to be blamed for this. Someone wants war here. And it's so interesting how Salt doesn't seem to be dumb, but he's either not picking up on it or he really sincerely doesn't care, because politically they'll look good if they just
politically it's great. We're going to blame this guy for the murder. It's great for them that Reynald's murdered, because now, you know, a new king is going to be chosen, essentially, because the old guy, you know, he's on his way out. He didn't look very good in the Blade itself. He's probably not much longer for this world. So who's it going to be?
And so anyways, I just loved how in this case, he obviously was doing what was wrong morally and just incorrect wrong, but he goes through with it, and he tortures the guy and then has him killed. And I thought that was an interesting juxtaposition there between
compared to letting Carly go.
Yeah, compared to letting Carly go. Yeah.
Okay, so then at the end he gets called off from the investigation. He still wants to investigate Reynald's murder because he knows it's something to do with eaters, and this is interesting to him. But at the end he gets called off by Malthus, the Valentin Balk guy, who gave him the million marks, and he basically owns Glokta at this point. So what is going on with Valent and Balk?
They've been, I mean, in book one, they were hinted at being probably behind most of, like, I feel like they're going to be the main antagonists, at least for Glokta's plot. I'm hoping they tie into everything. And then they have two really important parts in this book. So my plan, I guess prediction / hope would be that Glokta and Artie get their minds together to investigate the bank and what's really going on. And I don't know, something there. I'm hoping they do a team up and some covert investigations.
Okay. Yes, definitely important. And I think you're going to like how the ending of Last Argument of Kings shakes out. It's, I thought it was quite satisfying. Okay, so last plot line, and we're already running long, so we'll have to maybe cut this discussion shorter. But we have Dogman and West out in the north. We already kind of laughed at Ladislaw, the most incompetent prince, and definitely should not have been leading an army. Just ask Rudd Three Trees. So I don't know, like in general, your impressions of the conflict sounds like you're kind of just questioning how it ties into everything else mostly.
Yeah, and not questioning and like why are we here, but I'm intrigued and I want to figure out how it connects. I loved the Ladislaw conflict. I loved West's involvement there and how he was able to like advance, but still be kind of like he was promoted, but still kind of cornered in his abilities to really do anything there. And I don't know, I feel like I related with West a lot more in this book, which
you have also offed a crown prince.
I haven't, but I don't know. Like him just getting so frustrated in that situation. Like it was, I mean, as a reader, like I said, it's frustrating and also very humorous in how it's frustrating. and how he just is like, okay, I'm sick of this, and pushes him off the cliff. And I think they make a like they make a note to emphasize that he wasn't just in one of his like furies when that happened. He was super calm and just, this needs to happen, and just pushed him off the cliff.
And I mean,
it wasn't.
it wasn't only because he was just frustrated with him. It's because he was trying to rape Catherine.
Oh no, yeah, right, yeah. I'm not. But I was just thought that was. I thought in that moment he was going to go into his true name, Furious, and go crazy on him. But I liked how it was just calm, because I don't know if it's meant to just showcase that was just the correct thing to do. Like, that was just what needed to happen. It wasn't a moment of passion or rage. It was just, this guy is terrible and needs to be removed. But I guess moving on with West, I liked all the Northmen in this one a lot more than the first one. They were just kind of a cameo, I guess, in the Blade itself. Whereas here we get more character development. Dogman becomes the clan leader at the end. Very sad about Dogman's.
He's your favorite Northman, I'm assuming.
Also, I mean, I don't really know.
Three Trees also
Three Trees is
cool.
Guy. Yeah, I like Three Trees. No,
rest in peace. I mean, that, yeah, rest in peace. The Fenris, that was one thing you were calling for in Blade itself, was you wanted Fenris, the Feared, to be out in the open more, so that you finally get some of that.
That was so cool. Yeah, I loved him. Man, I want to see more of that. I think, but my only issue with the Northman right now is the only one that really has a defined personality to me is Black Dow.
Black Dow.
Yes.
Important.
And his main defining attribute is just that he's angry and he doesn't like anyone, pretty much.
He's black, basically. He's very dark, like just in mood and demeanor and everything.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought they were fine. I liked their plot. I feel like was very tightly written. The whole fighting in the North and the politicking, getting separated, and then that battle at the end that's just pure confusion. Really sad about the girl that
Cathal.
West freed, Cathal, and then
West freed. With Dogman. He was liking her, but then she liked Dogman more, and there was kind of this awkwardness, and then she dies.
Yeah. I was not expecting that. And then also her father, the guy that Giselle Pike, he's a really interesting character too. I'm cool to see.
He is a very interesting character.
I want to know what he did to get sent there to begin with, and I want to know how the Inquisition.
This is a very good question. It's a very good question.
I want to know what the Inquisition. They can't just be letting him go. Like, there's going to be. Is there any chance that somehow he caused Glokta's fate? Was he with Glokta? Were they in the same company? Because West was in Glokta's company. He says
that he served with Colonel Glokta in Gurkul. Yes.
Yeah.
So stew on that. But that is a very astute and interesting question. And I feel like my reaction is making you like think about all these things. And I don't want to, get into too many spoilers or anything. But Pike is a very important character. Yes.
My only question is, like, if it were obvious that he caused Glokta's end, then wouldn't he have just been killed? But I guess not. I guess if he had information, they'd want to get all the information out. But according to Salt? I don't know.
Salt.
His Salt. His main MO seems to be torture them hard and fast and then kill them. Like, people don't seem to stay prisoners very long under his rule. So I wouldn't imagine that they would keep Pike that long if he had done something that bad or had that much information, at least according to what they knew. Anyways, he's a really cool character. I really like West in this one. I liked seeing him unleash his rage more in this book. because I guess there's no like abusing his sister in it. So still don't know how he's going to redeem himself for that one. But
Neither does he.
yeah.
Neither does he.
I guess to keep things going, I'll try to give my last takes on Kwai. Kwai for sure is an eater. I had this theory.
Okay, yeah. I think you talked about this in the first episode. So you're building on this.
I was like, at the end of the first book, he seemed kind of quiet. He didn't seem himself. This book, he's a completely different person than who he was in book one, of being this like kind of absent-minded, awkward guy. Now he's like goading Baez with these stories and like.
And how about the moment where after Baez gets struck down, right, from using too much of the art, and he is incapacitated, and Kwai's standing over him, and he's like, I could kill him so easily right now. And I think he's talking to Logan, and Logan's like, okay. Like,
how is that going to help? Let's go. Yeah. Yeah. But I was expecting, because so obviously that he is an eater in my mind, I thought he would be the big bad guy for Baez to confront at the end, but no confrontation. He's still unnoticed. I'm very confused at that. I thought that would be a big conflict in this book, but I guess the rest of their journeying. Also the seed not being there at the end. We've talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
Great subversion. I was like, oh, Kwai must know. Like, I thought he would know, the new Kwai, but he seemed pretty bamboozled by it as well. So
yeah, he was pretty mad. Him and Baez both pretty mad.
Yeah, yeah, for different but the same reason. I did think Longfoot was funny. I loved him, and I loved how it was so easy to tell how much everyone just hated him, but they just put up with him because he was necessary. But
was he necessary? Like, really, was he necessary? I mean, Baez already kind of knew where everything was.
That's true. That's true. Like, what did he really serve? But then also,
I mean, I guess when Baez was down, he helped some.
Yeah.
He's just comic relief. I mean, there's already, the whole story is comic relief if you really get into it. But
yeah,
Longfoot was great.
Yeah,
my favorite Longfoot moment was at the very end, where he tries to tell Baez, like, oh, it's the journey that's important here. Like, he's totally going full Sanderson. And Baez is like, shut up. I'm going to kill you if you say another thing. This is awful.
Yeah, man. He brought out some really good moments. Pharaoh, I still really like Pharaoh. It was really cool to get more in her head and get a, like, I know, I felt for her a lot more in this book. I got a feel for who she was emotionally, and although her motives right now are just vengeance, basically, I think she was more fleshed out. I liked her and Logan's relationship and how it like built up, and then how it kind of fell apart due to miscommunication. And then at the end, it was such a perfect scene where she was like hoping he would say, you should come with me, or vice versa. And then neither one of them said anything. So then they're like, oh, they don't want me to be here. I thought that was really well done. Just like the lack of communication in this was done in a really cool way. We get to be inside Pharaoh's head for a moment where she's like, I literally don't know how to say sorry in this language.
So, I think adding the ability to be inside our characters' heads directly is so crucial for what Abercrombie's doing here, because it allows you to understand them in such a way. So then when you're in the other character's head and you see things that when you see other characters through a different character's eyes, and you see what they're doing, and that character is confused at why they're doing it, you're like, well, as a reader, you understand because you know everyone super well. But then the miscommunication makes sense because you know why they're doing what they would or wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Okay, before you go off on everything, maybe you have a couple more points, but let's do our worst to the best. Okay. So we're now ready for our final worst to the best segment. Hopefully you didn't waste all of your ammunition from previous parts of the book already. So that segment goes now.
Okay. Worst
Do you want to go first? Do you have one?
No, you go first. I'm so thinking.
Okay. So mine is going to be the very end when they get the seed or the not seed. And it's the best because I'm now on board with the subversion thing. I think that that is awesome now. Unlike my first read, I understand and appreciate what Abercrombie's doing here at the end of the journey. It's the worst because once again we are randomly bringing in this plot thing of talking to spirits, and it's not really needed anywhere else, but now all of a sudden Logan can do it, and it just doesn't seem nearly as necessary as a lot of the other things throughout the book. Like, I know in one of the Sons of Eus, I think it talks about has the ability to talk with spirits, but unlike, the eaters and the demons thing, like that is so huge. The talking with spirits thing is like accomplished two small plot things. I feel like it's just kind of like shoved into the puzzle a little bit and not nearly as tidy as most of the rest of the plot. So that's my thing. Not really into the spirits thing.
Yeah, I like the spirits, but I'd like to have seen that expanded more and like the purpose of it, because it seems to be a pretty rare gift, but it doesn't seem to be that important if Logan's name in the North is Nine Finger or the Bloody Nine instead of Spirit Talker.
Yeah.
Like that seems to be a bigger thing than, oh, he fights really hard and goes crazy.
Well, I guess people are more impressed with, cutting down people in huge bloodbaths.
True, but it's like no one ever talks about the fact that he can talk to spirits other than Baez, because Baez needs him for that reason.
Right.
But um yeah, I'd say my worst of the best. Oh man, this is so hard. Was probably just the lack of really good distinct characters with the Northmen, because I really like their plot line. So for me, it was like one of the best things is seeing how they interacted with everything. But to me, their personality was more this group of Northmen as opposed to who really is Dogman. We got a little bit of that, but like I said, it was mostly Black Dow that had any distinct personality. And so,
and then you've got people like the Thunderhead, Tolduru, and Harding Grim,
yeah,
whose personalities he doesn't talk.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I wish
there's not a lot. Yeah,
yeah. And like I said, worst of the best because I loved them and their plot so much, but I just wish there was more to that.
Okay, that is our review of Before They're Hanged. Jake, what are your plans for Last Argument of Kings?
I'll be starting it this next week. I need to finish Deadhouse Gates and then on to Before They're Hanged.
Okay.
Sorry. Blood of Kings. What's it called? What's the last one? Last Argument of Kings.
Last Argument of Kings. Yes.
Cool. I'm gonna get roasted in the comments.
No. The First Law community, actually, we've had a lot of good experience with. They all seem to be very happy to provide details, but not in a condescending way. Like, they understand fans are at different levels. So, I mean, I've read it before. I tried to study up before this review. I'm sure I made some mistakes because there are a lot of details. So if you're a big fan, let us know what we missed. We appreciate all that input.
Yeah.
Cool.
So overall, I'd say,
oh yeah.
Overall, I'd say, 9 out of 10 for this book for me.
Okay. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10 on my BookTube. So you in general are a little bit harsher or a little bit more of a little stingy in your reviews. So 9 out of 10, that is pretty good.
I really liked it. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Joe, if you're listening, we're big fans. We'd love to have you on the show sometime.
Yeah.
All right. If you like what we're doing at Phantology, you can find more at www.phantologybooks.com. Hop on Discord and let us know what series you're excited for, what you'd like us to read. We have our TBRs booked out a little bit, but we're happy to entertain other things. And if you're an author and want to talk with us about your book, let us know as well. We're trying to do more of that type of thing, be more involved with the community. So thank you for listening, and I guess keep your axes sharp. Avoid the North. A lot of people die out there. Actually, people die kind of throughout the circle of the world, so I don't really know if there's anywhere safe.
I'd say make sure you forgive those who have wronged you, but not before they're hanged.
Okay. On that note, we're out. See you later. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Phantology. If you'd like to let us know your opinions on all things sci-fi and fantasy, join our Discord. Invites are in the episode descriptions below. If you'd like to support the show, like these fine folks here, you can do that at patreon.com/phantology_books. Patrons get early access to new episodes, exclusive postings, and exclusive Discord benefits. But of course, just listening and watching and sharing with your friends and family is support enough. Journey before destination all.